Are you struggling to request permissions in your Android app? You're not alone. Today, we're diving into how to request the right external storage and right settings permissions, and I promise you, it's easier than you think. I totally get it. Permissions can be a real headache, especially when you're trying to get your app to work smoothly. Many developers face this challenge, and it can be frustrating when things don't go as planned. Here's the specific question we're addressing today. One user asked, how do I get the request code for permissions like right external storage and right settings? If this sounds familiar, stick around as we break it down. Understanding permissions in Android is crucial. These permissions are necessary for your app to access certain features of the device, like writing to external storage or modifying system settings. Let's explore how to request these permissions properly. And don't go anywhere. At the end of this video, I'll share a valuable resource where you can find all the request codes you need. To request permissions for writing to external storage and settings in Android, the user should start by adding the necessary permissions to the Android manifest file. Next, the user needs to check if the permissions are already granted. This can be done using the Context Compat class in the activity. If the permissions are not granted, the user should request them. This is done using the ActivityCompat request permissions method. Finally, the user should handle the permission request result in the onRequestPermissions result method to check if the permissions were granted. Fun fact, did you know that Android permissions have evolved significantly over the years? What used to be a simple checkbox is now a more complex system to protect user privacy. Now, let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative approach shared by another user suggests that you can use any integer value as a request code for permissions. This allows you to differentiate between various permission requests in the onRequestPermissions result handler. In their example, they define a constant variable for the request code, like myPermissionsRequestReadContacts, which can be set to any integer, such as 1337. This is how you would request permissions. Let's check out another perspective from a different user. An alternative approach provided by a user for requesting permissions in Android using Xamarin Forms involves modifying the main activity. They suggest injecting specific code to request the right external storage and right settings permissions. Now, let's dive into a different answer from another user. This user provides a method to request permissions for writing to external storage. They check if the permission is granted, and if not, they request it using ActivityCompat. If the permission is granted, they call a method to bind the user interface. In the onRequestPermissions result method, they handle the result of the permission request. If the permission is granted, they call the getPermission method again to ensure everything is set up correctly. Here's that valuable resource I promised. You can find a comprehensive list of Android permissions and their request codes in the official Android documentation. This will be your go-to guide for all future projects. And there you have it. You now know how to request the right external storage and right settings permissions in your Android app. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe for more tips and tricks to enhance your development skills.